One quick announcement on small groups. So the group that meets at my house on Tuesday nights, we will not be meeting this week. We will not be meeting this Tuesday, this spiritual gifts, but we will pick back up the following Tuesday, and I would love to have you come if you want to get involved in that. And so a little while back, I had to go get get the new driver's license, right? So sitting at the DMV office and sitting there for a little bit, my stomach growls real loud. Lady behind me taps me on the shoulder and she says, "You want some peanuts?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." So I grabbed the peanuts, ate the peanuts, and sitting there waiting forever, of course, again. So a few minutes later, she taps me on the shoulder again. She's like, "You want some more peanuts?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure." So I grab those, eat those. A little time goes by. She taps me on the shoulder again and says, "You need more peanuts?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm okay." I was like, "Aren't you going to eat any of the peanuts?" And she's like, "Oh, no, I can't. You see, I don't have any teeth. I just like to suck the chocolate off of them." All of you who are fasting lunch, you can thank me. You just lost your appetite, so I just made it easier on you, right? Takes one to know one. So I want to talk this morning. We are winding down. Our official fast ends at sundown tonight. So we are, some of us are excited about that. Huh? But man, it's been a great time. And so I want to talk this morning about, kind of say, after the fast. What happens after the fast? Where do we go from here? And so the first thing I want to say is it's not really like the fast is over, because, I believe and ask and invite you to continue to fast throughout the year. I mean, it's something that's throughout the year, and maybe not as much as during this consolidated time, but one of the beautiful things last year, if you remember, we had that thing up there, and we were trying to get every day covered, and for all last year, so we fasted the whole year, other than a handful of days. There was a handful of days that did not get covered, but for the rest of it, that every day someone here was fasting. And I hope that we kind of continue that thing of just let it be in a thing that you figure out a rhythm to do some fasting and how you want to do that. And obviously we know there's certain times, as we talked about last week, there are certain times that you definitely want to go to the Lord and fast over specific things and events. But as we come to the end of this, kind of want to talk about that after the fast, and I want to go into Isaiah 58 that we kind of ended with last week, and we'll pick up there because, from that we ended with Isaiah 58 talking about some good specific times to fast, some good things, when you need something, when you're wanting something from God, it is a great time to fast. When he says in that chapter, he's like, "This is the kind of fast that I desire." And it's where it's not just about we go without food and seek him, but where we're doing things for others, where we're sowing the seeds, right, of what we want to harvest. And so what we want him to be in our lives, we try to be for others around us. And that's the kind of fast that he likes. And why is that? Because when we do that, when we're planting seeds by serving, by doing good things for others, then when we come in and fast, what we're doing with our fast is we are fertilizing and watering those seeds that we've planted. And that's what helps those things to grow and for us to then to reap that harvest. In Galatians 6, verses 7 through 10, it says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." That's just the truth. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh they will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, or planting seeds, we might say. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. So after the fast, what do we do? Let me tell you, keep sowing. The things that we talked about doing and being during the fast should not just be isolated to during the fast. Keep sowing seeds. Keep serving. Keep loving on others. Keep being for them what you want God to be for you. Be that in other lives. So just let it become a lifestyle. Just like I say with fasting, I ask you, let fasting become a lifestyle. Let the sowing the seeds, let doing good deeds to others should be a lifestyle. He says, here, he's like, don't get tired in doing good. Keep doing it. Keep going. Keep sowing. Keep loving. Keep doing all these things because you will reap a harvest. And he tells us there, because we're sowing into something all the time. You're either sowing to the flesh, or you're sowing into the Spirit. You're doing one of the other. And you're going to reap. And the scary part is, as we sow, if we sow into the flesh, we sow into just our desires and we feed those and we do those kind of things, you're going to reap. And we understand what feeding the flesh has one goal, is to kill, steal, and destroy, because the flesh is of the devil. Our flesh, that selfish nature, that human nature inside of us is empowered by the enemy, and it is to steal, kill, and destroy. And so when we sow into that, what is going to return? What is our reaping going to be? It's going to be destruction. And that's what the scripture says. But if we sow into the Spirit, if we sow into the things that we know pleases God, then what happens? We reap life, and life eternal. So here's what I think. As we've done this, we have, we've done some things, and we've sown in. We're doing our sowing, and we fasted, and we're doing those things. And so here's what I got: 10 things this morning of what I believe lies ahead for us. 10 things of what I believe lies ahead for us if we are sowing into the Spirit, if we are doing and being what we want to receive from God. Here's the harvest that I believe He has for us and that Scripture tells us. And we'll start where we left off last week with Isaiah 58, verse 8, first part of verse 8. It says, "Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear." And the two things that we mentioned last week of, I believe breakthrough. Number one, I'm believing for breakthroughs. Not, there's things that we feel like we just I just can't get through. I just can't. You're right. I just can't get past this. I just can't. I believe that now, as we've sown the seeds, I believe we can have the expectation to reap and expect to see God do some breakthroughs in our lives. Some of those things you've been struggling with for a while, this is the year to break through. The things that you've been it seems like you thought you were never going to get past, this is the year for breakthrough. The second thing, again, we mentioned last week and talked about, He says your healing will come quickly. Your healing will quickly appear. So I believe healing. We know God still heals. He's still the healer. He healed back then. He still heals today. I believe it. I believe in that. I believe in it. He wants to do more, and that's physical healing. That's also emotional healing. There's things in our emotions sometimes that hurt a lot more than physical things do. And He's the healer of our emotions and our spirits just as much as in our body. And here He says, He's like, as He talks about this, He's like, you're doing these things. Guess what? Your healing will quickly appear. Number 3, let's continue on in verse 8. It says, then your righteousness will go before you. Your righteousness will go before you. Here's what I get out of that, because the exciting thing for me in that section, it says go before you, which means what? It means you're on the move. It's talking about now you're on the move. And you know what? I believe that this year, there's some of the reaping that we're going to do is that things are going to begin to move. Things that we have been waiting for, things that we have been anticipating, things that we have longed for but haven't seen come to fruition. This is the time now, I believe we're going to start reaping. Things begin to move. Things begin to move forward. And what does it say? He says our righteousness will lead the way. You know what? No more of the circling around the mountain, right? No more of the feeling like we're stuck in the mud. But seeing how God, all of a sudden, we see him move. You know what? The cloud by day, the fire by night begins to move, and we're going to jump in and we're going to follow. As he goes before us, he's going to see movement happen. We're going to see that in your life. We're going to see that in our life as a church. And we're going to see movement start to happen that we have been longing for, waiting for. And you know what? As you move forward, he continues on and says, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. I love that part. I don't know about you, but I love that part because you know what? There's nothing worse than like you trying to go somewhere and feeling like you always got to be looking over your shoulder, right? Always looking like, oh, what if somebody's coming up behind me? What if what is this? And you know what? Sometimes that looking over our shoulder, we're looking over at our past. And we're seeing, is my past going to catch up with me? Is my mistakes going to catch up with me? And we're trying to move forward, but we're not making much progress, and we're getting slowed down because I'm continuing to look back, and I'm expecting, it's all going to fall apart. This is not going to, and let me tell you, there's nothing more encouraging than knowing somebody's got your back. And somebody's protecting you, the back side and your rear guard, and so you don't have to keep looking back. You don't have to keep wondering what's behind you because you know it's covered. And that's what he says there. He says, I got your back. You know, our back that's our most vulnerable place. I'm going to tell you, I don't know what the most vulnerable places are in your life, but God says if you sow into righteousness, if you sow into the Spirit and you're doing all those things, he says, you know what, I got your back. I got that vulnerable place. I will protect that vulnerable place in your life. I've got you covered. This is what he does. This is what his promise is so that we can keep our focus on what's ahead. Because that's what he tells us to do, doesn't he? He's like, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. He's moving forward and doing all this. And don't be looking around to the back and to the side. I got you. You just keep looking forward and you keep moving forward. And you keep progressing in what God has for you. He's got your back. Moving on into verse 9. He says, then you will call and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help and he will say, here I am. And what does that mean? I'm going to tell you what I read in that is I read of a God who is close. I read of a God who says, you know what? It says that crying out, you cry out and oh, he's right here. You know, sometimes we have those feelings, right? I don't believe he's ever far away, but sometimes he feels far away. Sometimes I'm calling out to him and I'm like, God, where are you? Are you asleep? Are you on vacation? What is going on here? And he says here, he's like, you'll call and I'll be right. Oh, I'm right here. I'm right here. Man, that's a comforting thing, isn't it? I know. I just remember, you know, one of the things is when our kids were younger, and you know, our girls especially they were scared of storms, right? Thunder in the middle of the night, and so you know I'm sure you've had this experience. As thunder comes, whatever, and next thing you know, you hear and they're in the bed with you, and that's okay for a minute, but then they fall asleep, and you're getting elbowed in the face, and you're getting kneed, and all this stuff. It's just not fun. The rest of the night is not good. And so what I learned to do is the first time I heard the thunder coming in the distance, I would go to their room. I would go get in the bed with them so that then when it's all said and done, I can get up and go back to but what would happen is you'd go down there and be there, and then boom, a big thunder would crack, and but then they'd be like, oh, you're right here. And they would just lay right back down, and everything was good. And see, that's what God says he does for us. He's like, I'm right here. He's like, oh, you hear that thunder, you should get scared. I'm right here. I got you. So just lay your head back down and rest because I'm here. I'm here. You don't have anything to fear. He will be close. James 4:8, he tells us, he's like, draw near to me and I'll draw near to you. So that's the thing. When we're sowing into drawing near to him, when we're sowing into the Spirit and to seeking him, you know what he says? I'll be right there. You'll feel my presence. You'll feel my presence. Let me tell you, it's not all about feelings, but it's good to feel. It's good to feel. It's good to feel his presence, isn't it? As several of the kids mentioned, you know what? A couple of things you heard them say, man, I felt his presence, right? That's a good feeling, and there's nothing wrong with feelings. And so he says, I'll be right there. His presence will be with us. He'll be close. Now, skipping on verse 11, he says, the Lord will guide you always. The Lord will guide you always. I believe that the reaping coming is a release of direction and guidance. Some of us you may be searching, you like questioning of things, and maybe some crossroads in your life or some questions and things coming up, and you're like, I just want to know where God's leading. I want to know His will. I want to do and we're seeking that, and we don't seem to be getting the answer. And I believe what is coming is a release of direction and guidance. I believe He will begin to make our steps clear. That's what we desire from Him, isn't it? I mean, we struggle so much sometimes with, God, is that you or is that something else? God, should I go this way or that way? God, should I do? And I believe that He will begin to make our steps very clear. He'll begin to show you this is the way to go. He'll enlighten like this, yes, this right, a big light shine down. Yes, go this way. And then He'll confirm it with things. I just believe that's one of the things He desires to do and will do, is the release of guidance and direction. And I believe this too, that even as we're going down the path, let me tell you, I don't know about you. Actually, I do know about you. Y'all ain't no different than me. But sometimes we're going down the path, right? We maybe start on that right path, but we start to veer off a little bit sometimes. We start to veer off a little bit. And let me tell you what else this part talks about, His guidance and direction, is when we start veering off, He's right there to be like, come on, get it back in line. Just get it back in line a little bit. Sometimes get that correction of just like, that's okay, I'm good. All right. We see a squirrel, right? And we're like, oh, that squirrel. And He's like, no, bring it on back in. Bring it on back in. Let's get on line here. This is what He says He'll do. We get started on the path. That doesn't mean we stay on the path, and He'll keep us on the path. Not just start us on the right path, but keep us on the right path. Then He says He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. What does it say? And He's talking about refreshing and restoring us, right? He's talking about, because, and that's what we need, because in the earlier verse we talked about, don't get weary in doing good, because we do. Sometimes when you're pouring out, right, you're doing good things, you're pouring out. Well, guess what? If you keep pouring out too much, you're going to be empty. Unless you keep getting filled. Unless you keep getting filled back up, right? I can be doing this as long as somebody else is doing that. And this is what I believe He's saying here. He's like, you keep pouring out, I'll keep pouring in. I'll refresh you. I'll restore you. And here's look at what it says too. He says He'll satisfy your needs. He didn't just say, I'll meet your needs. I'll satisfy your needs. Satisfy your needs. He's the God of more than just enough. Don't think He just barely meet my needs. He says, I'll satisfy you. I will satisfy your needs. I'll satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land. That's encouraging too, because sometimes we look around and we go, well, the economy's getting bad, and it don't matter to Him. He says in the sun-scorched land, in the middle of the desert, and He's like, I'll be that oasis in the middle of the desert. I'll be that little green spot. You know what? It may be sun-scorched and dried up all around you, but let me tell you, I will satisfy you. I will satisfy you in that sun-scorched land. I don't know. Sometimes we look in that sun-scorched land. Again, maybe it is. Maybe it's the overall economy. Maybe it's things on your job. Maybe your company. Maybe in your family. I don't know. But He says, whatever that place is, I will satisfy your needs, no matter where you are. If you're in the good place, great. If you're in a tough place, He's like, I'll still satisfy your needs. See, He's not dependent on what's going on around. He's not dependent on the environment you're in. He says, I will satisfy your needs, even in the sun-scorched land. Refreshing and restoration for you. Now, I like these next two, because the next two, it goes beyond us. Because let's see, we don't need to. Yes, we want God's blessing and favor, and He's promising these things for us. But it's more important that you know what He does, because then we can be a blessing and continue to touch others, right? As we've sown the seeds and to do all those things, then He begins to make us fruitful in that. He says this. He says, you will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. He says, you will be, we will be the well-watered garden. We will be the spring whose waters never fail. So now he's saying, not only am I going to do this, restore and refresh you, but now I'm going to make you fruitful so that you nourish and refresh others. What does a well-watered garden do? It produces fruit. And what does fruit do? Fruit is good. It provides nutrition. It quenches hunger. It's sweet and it's good to the taste. It's all those things. He's like, you will be all of this to those around you. You will nourish and refresh others as you continue to pour out and pour out. I'm going to start making you effective. See, sometimes we're like, I'm pouring out, but I don't see nothing happening. It can be tough, and that's why we get the encouragement that he says, keep doing it. Don't get tired. Just keep going. Don't worry about the results. Keep going. But now he's promising. He's like, but as you keep going, the refreshing will come. And now he said, now I'm going to make you fruitful. I'm going to let you start seeing. Oh wow, see somebody's life. Oh wow, they were listening. Wow, he did use me. There was an impact there. He begins to restore and refresh others through us. Then he goes on into verse 12, and he says, some of you will rebuild the deserted ruins of your city. Then you will be known as a rebuilder of walls and a restorer of homes. See, here he says, some of you will rebuild the deserted ruins of your city. What does that mean? So you visualize here, and it's a city that has been destroyed in some way, and now it's just been deserted. It's been deserted, right? So whatever happened, the enemy came, who knows what happened, some calamity came, whatever, the city has been destroyed, and now it's just deserted, it's just left with ruins. And you know what? Some of us, you may have an area in your life that's what you feel about it. It may be your family. It may be your business. It may be your community. It could be anything related to that, but something, an area of your life that you're just like, you know what? It got destroyed, and maybe it was even my fault. And it's just ruined, and it's done, right? It was a failure. All this happened. But this verse says, no, you know what? He said, I can rebuild where you failed. I can rebuild on your failure. I can rebuild on the calamity. I can rebuild on where the enemy came in and destroyed. I can rebuild. You may see it as ruined and done for, but let me tell you, I believe that he is saying, as we have sown and as we sow, he says you can reap, rebuilding where you have failed, rebuilding where the enemy has destroyed, where it's been ruined and just deserted. Maybe you've even forgotten about it. And God is saying, guess what? I didn't forget about Jerusalem. I hadn't forgotten about you. I can tell you, maybe relationships that you're just like, it's just done, I ruined it, or something happened, or this, and I don't see any hope. And you may have given up. It's time to rekindle some hope. It's time to read this verse and to say, you know what, I've been sowing into righteousness. I've been sowing, and I've been doing good. I'm serving, I'm helping others, I'm doing these things. I'm trying to seek God. I'm doing all these things to say, you know what, I believe he's going to restore. I believe he's going to do some restoration of that city, of my city that was ruined and deserted. Whatever that is for you, I believe that he is going to do some things this year in that. He says, you will be known as rebuilder of walls and restorer of homes. Rebuilding lives. That's what he's in the business of doing. Rebuilding lives, rebuilding relationships, rebuilding your finances, rebuilding whatever it is. Let me tell you, nothing is too difficult for him. Whatever your city is, wherever it is that has been ruined and has been deserted, it is not too difficult for him. Rebuilding lives, restoring families, restoring relationships, restoring the dreams and the visions that you have. He said, now you will be a rebuilder. You will be known as rebuilders and restorers of homes. Then down in verse 14, he says this, and then you will find joy in the Lord. Then you will find joy in the Lord. What is that talking about? Just living with joy. I mean, now how simple is that? That he just says, you live with joy. It's like you will reap joy. As you're sowing and doing these things, you will reap joy. Isn't that what we're just looking for? Isn't that what the world is looking for? Just peace and joy in their lives, just some joy and some contentment. And they're trying to fill it. Why do you think there's alcohol problems? They're trying to find a joy, right? Drug problems, right? We're trying to get some joy. We're trying to get up, to do this. And what do we see? See the things that we chase, trying to chase joy, when he says, you know what? Just sow into righteousness. Just sow these seeds and do good things for others and do these things. And guess what? I'm going to fill you with joy. I'm going to let your walk be filled with joy. I'm going to let you live with joy. And let me tell you, then joy, all of a sudden, joy becomes what? The joy of the Lord becomes strength. Joy turns into strength. So if you feel weak, let me tell you, look for joy. Begin to expect God to start filling you with joy, because the joy is strength. Let me tell you, that's just, this is a very simple concept, but you see it all the time, because you see somebody, they can be dragging all this, and just give them a little glimmer of something, and all of a sudden they're walking tall. All of a sudden they got new energy, new life. It's the same way in the Spirit. This is what we need. Let him touch us and fill us with joy, and all of a sudden we will see our strength return. We will see strength to do the things that he's called us to do and wants us to do and has for us to do. And let me turn something very specific to us. In John chapter 4. John chapter 4, I'm going to read verse 35. This encounter is where Jesus has encountered this woman at the well. Right? We know he's going through, and he says, I have to go through Samaria. And they go and they stop at this well, and the disciples go on into town to get some food. I guess, I don't know, maybe run through the drive-thru at McDonald's or something. But Jesus said, I'm going to wait here and rest. And while he does, this woman comes up, and he asked her for water. The encounter, a little bit of back and forth. And the next thing, he reveals to her, some things, some truth about her. She's been married, and just not had a good life and is not currently in a good place. And he begins to love on her, and he begins to speak to her, and he begins to do something. And she encounters Jesus, and her life is changed. And she runs back into town and begins to tell everybody. And now the disciples are back, and, they were a little confused about the situation, but they're back, and all of a sudden, so Jesus turns and he speaks to them, and he says, hey, don't you have a saying, it's still 4 months until the harvest? I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. So what is Jesus saying in this moment? He's looking at them, and he's been working with these guys, right? He said, come follow me. He created this group that he's sowing into and doing these things, and they're anticipating. He's telling them about the coming kingdom, and they're anticipating some things to be happening. They're anticipating, for people their followers to grow, and they're anticipating all this stuff to happen. But they're thinking it's still down the line somewhere. They're thinking we're still in this process early on, and to this, and now that this woman has gone into the town, and all of a sudden the people are starting to come from the town towards the well. And I believe that this is the scene that Jesus is making this statement, is these Samaritans are coming, and just in the droves, they're coming out to see this man who told her everything about her and loved her anyway and changed her life. And he's telling the disciples, it's like, you're thinking this thing is down the road, and I'm telling you, I'm accelerating the harvest. I'm accelerating the harvest. What you think is in the future, what you think is down the road, he's like, I'm speeding up the process. See, you think it's 4 months until from you when you plant the seeds, and then you do all this, and it's 4 months until you harvest. And Jesus is saying, open your eyes, turn around, open your eyes. The harvest, here they come. The harvest is coming now. What you've sown, it's here. It's here. And I believe that's His word for us. I believe that's His word for us. Look, there's times, and we've been doing it, right? We've been praying, we've been sowing, we've been fasting all year like we've talked about. And I believe that God has been putting things in place, and we've been doing all that. And I believe we're hitting a time, and God is saying, I'm about to accelerate the harvest. I'm about to accelerate the harvest. Let me tell you, I believe as we have doing this time of fasting, let me tell you, to me it's been different. To me it's just been a little different this time. Fasting's always good. God's always done some things. But just to me it's been a little different, and I believe He's been speaking, and He's saying, I'm accelerating the harvest. I'm accelerating the harvest. You see, you would be things now, you'd be like, oh, you know what, I've done all this, and this, and you know, I don't know if I can. Let me tell you, just start planting seeds, because He's saying, you know what, you start planting seeds, you're going to watch. You may wake up the next morning and a tree's there with fruit already being produced. Let me tell you, there's something about persevering and doing all that, but there's a time, like He mentioned right here, that He says, you know, you always think 4 months and then the harvest. I'm telling you, just open your eyes now. Watch what I do. Watch what I do with the seeds that you plant. Watch how fast I work. Watch how fast I turn the situation around. If you will plant those seeds and you will water them and you will nourish them. Watch what I do. Watch what I do. I believe that's what He has. That's what He's telling us. Let me tell you, the harvest that I believe He has for us, He's saying it's now. It's now. Just open your eyes. Go ahead and open your eyes. You know, sometimes we get our heads down and we're working even for good things, and we're working for the kingdom, we're doing all this, and He's like, wait, just stop. You know what? You've sown and do it. Open your eyes and begin to just start reaping the harvest. Begin to reap the harvest. Begin to look for Him to do the things that we've been talking about this morning and more in your life. Look, as you begin to sow, you will reap. You will reap what you sow. And I believe His word for us right now is, I'm accelerating. I'm accelerating that for you. So I want to do something just a little bit different this morning. And I'm gonna ask the musicians, you don't even have to come up right now. Lee, if you don't mind, maybe a little soft music in the background or something, or whatever. But I want to go back through, because why not just start reaping right now? Why not just start reaping right now? So I'm going to go through some of these things, and I'm just going to say, we're going to do it this way. I'm going to mention something, and if that's your need or want, I'm going to ask you to stand. We're going to say a quick prayer, and we're going to move to the next one.